to Behind the Chair with JP Hair Design. Today our guest is Faisal Abdu'Allah, and Faisal is a artist, a barber, instructor, and he's here from London, and he's at the UW teaching. So I went out and saw a video of Faisal. He did a documentary down at the UW on the fade, and I found that his documentary was great, and I wanted to definitely bring him on this show to, show him to the Madison community and to the world. This guy is a great guy, very knowledgeable, and I definitely enjoy having you here.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes, sir. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am born and raised in London. My parents are from Jamaica. They came to London sort of kind of the mid-60s.
Okay.
And I'm a product of that kind of that culture,
Okay.
seeing discrimination, growing up as a young guy with brothers and sisters, and beginning to understand how making art is a vehicle that I could, protest and talk about, kind of issues about my culture.
Okay. So if you had a choice and you had to choose barbering or art, what would you do?
That's a very good question. Which one would I choose, barbering or art? For me, if I decide to be erudite and philosophical and say that, I am going to be an artist from now on, then my work will no longer exist.
Okay.
Because the core of my work comes from a place of honesty. It comes from the barbershop space.
Wow. And
it's not an urban space, it's not a cultured space. No, it's just a space.
Right.
It's a space where, it has shaped me as a person. It has shaped my approach to colour, when I say colour, I'm just talking about just colour in general.
Right.
To form, about space, about history, about migrations. It has informed me in so many different ways. And it has been the place that has dropped a seed where I've said, I'm going to go and find that out. Because the barbershop is the only place where people will argue about stuff that sometimes they don't know about.
Exactly.
And for me, it's all about quoting your sources. And as a barber, you're generally the guy who has to kind of tell them what the source is.
Right. And you got to be correct, because the last thing you want to do is be telling the community something that's incorrect.
Exactly. And those same guys will be leaving, guys and girls, will be leaving the shop to go out to check their source, come back the following week and say, yo, JP, remember you said, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, it was a wonderful place of conditioning and becoming quite kind of rigorous about information. So, the two have to exist and sit side by side.
Yeah.
Because one isn't changeable from the other.
Right, that makes sense. Do you have any key art that you've done that you really hold tight to?
Yeah, I suppose there's a couple. There's one piece that I did called I Wanna Kill Sam, and that was based purely on the Ice Cube track that I heard from the album. I think it's Death Certificate. I think that's the album. But I remember when I was a young kid, just come back from America and realized the content of that song, the radicalization of it, and what it meant to, the black community in America, and how it reflected some of the sentiments of black people in the UK. This sense of distrust in governance. So for me, it wasn't about trying to Americanize my work.
Right.
It was about finding key points that, that people had in common. So that work, I Wanna Kill Sam, that's one of the works that really made me visible on the art world scene, because it was these guys dressed in, they said they were dressed like rappers. But these are guys that I know who love rap music, who were making rap music in London, and that's how they dressed. Hoodies, combat boots, but that's just how they dressed. That was their style. And they were holding weapons in the picture. So for me, it was a way of reclaiming the image of the black body in popular culture. Because people would argue that, well, Faisal, these black guys are holding guns. It's not a very good image. But I says, to the academic art world, in their museums, my picture on the wall, what about James Bond? What about Sylvester Stallone? James Bond is promiscuous and he kills people. And he makes 7 or 8 different movies. There's copious amounts of James Bond films. So what you're saying is that when the black body has a gun, he's deemed as evil, malevolent, and uncontrollable. When the white body holds the gun, it's a tool of empowerment.
Yeah.
So the images then really question the way that we have been ill-informed
Right.
about representation
Yeah.
and trying to reclaim that. So that's
Right.
one work that I really hold tight onto. And another one is a body of work they call The Last Supper,
Okay.
which is 12 black men and black women dressed in Islamic attire.
Okay.
And people say the so-called Judas figure has a 9mm behind his back.
Uh-huh.
Again, it was going through that phase where I was trying to look at issues around gun violence in my own community.
Okay.
And looking at the ideas of spirituality and redemption. So
Okay.
those two pieces are the ones that really resonate with me.
Okay. So the barbershop culture, you know, how is your art and the barbershop culture, how is that mix?
As you know, the barbershop is a university, an
Yeah.
unofficial university,
Exactly.
where black people share their stories,
Yeah.
their hopes, their aspirations,
Yeah.
and they problem solve,
Mm-hmm.
and they build relationships.
Right.
And then I realized that going to art school, I'm reading about Freud, I'm reading about, Foucault, I'm reading about all these wonderful theorists, and I'm these two different people.
Okay.
For 5 days a week, I'm this one person, and then 2 days a week, I'm this other person.
Right.
Then I began to think, I need to reconcile these two spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and then began to incorporate the people that I would speak to in the barbershop about their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I began to take those individuals and photograph them,
Okay.
and began to use them in my work.
Okay.
And that's when the work began to have a lot more honesty,
Mm-hmm.
integrity.
Right.
The artwork began to think, oh, there's this young guy making this work about, these urban black people. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it's just the artwork being a little bit ignorant,
Right.
Because in effect, they're just people.
Right.
They're not urban, they're just people that have stories to tell like any other artist, makes work about subjects.
Right.
So, and that's when I began to think about this whole idea of incorporating the real
Mm-hmm.
into my art and keeping hold of how important community is within the barbershop.
So finally, what can we look forward to with Faisal? What do you got coming down the pipeline?
So in the foreseeable future, with Faisal, obviously there's this documentary, The Fade, that was done by Andy Mundy Castle, which is an incredible film. It talks about the lives of poor barbers from across the world. So that has kind of made me think a lot more about me as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and also what I want to do possibly in film.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about making a film about walking.
Okay. Okay.
And that has come out of the barbershop space because I'm actually fascinated by how we walk.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a barbershop, some of your clients have a certain, we call it swagger. They've got a
Yeah.
certain move about them.
Yeah. Exactly.
And guys that wear the trousers off their hip walk in a certain way.
Yeah.
Guys that wear the tailored trousers walk in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Certain guys that live in certain areas walk in a certain way.
Right.
And, people that have certain kind of jobs
Mm-hmm.
have a certain kind of walk.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of curious about that whole
That's cool.
physicality of how we walk and how we potentially we make transformations throughout our lives. So
Okay.
we've got to walk when we're 15, 16, we've got to walk when we're finding girlfriends and boyfriends.
Right.
We've got to walk when we're settled, and as we get older,
Right.
we walk differently.
Exactly.
So, there's that I'm working on, and I'm also working on another book,
Okay.
because I had a big show in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on another more kind of theoretical book
Okay.
about my art, and I'm getting a few writers to kind of work on that.
Okay.
And potentially another exhibition in the US, so maybe 2015 or something like that.
Okay.
Because they take a lot of time, there's a lot of lead time doing the show.
Okay.
Like setting up business, really.
Right.
So there's those three things that I'm kind of working on at the moment.
Okay. Well, that sounds good, man. It's been great to have you on the show. Down here. Well, we got a little something for Faisal. We got you this JP Hair Design
Beautiful.
shirt, and got your information in the back. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. I wear that with pride.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so much. I wear this with pride on the streets of London.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming in, man.
Thanks,
You've been doing a great job. Welcome to the community, and hopefully we can have you back again soon.
Thank you very much.